Thank you for watching, and this is Our Story with Brandon Campbell. I'm Director of Small Business and Inclusion with the Little Rock Regional Chamber, and I'm here at Doyne Construction Company, the premier construction company here in the Little Rock region. Doyne Construction Company for over 40 years have been doing some great work throughout this community. Starting out back in the 80s, took a small job of about $40,000, flipped it into a multi-million-dollar corporation here, and we're very proud to be here, proud to have them as a chamber member. Thank you, Mr. Dexter Doyne and his son Mason Doyne. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
And so I'm going to get right into it. What is your why?
Well, first of all, you made it sound so easy, $40,000 to multi-million. But my why is that I'm a native of the Choctaw Station community over in East Little Rock, was born and raised there, still live there to this day. And that's a low to moderate income community that's in need or was in need of everything, all kind of infrastructure, new housing, new businesses. And so my why was to create a company that could employ local residents, give them job opportunities, and to improve my community at the same time. And from that, renovation of properties there in the community has grown into Doyne Construction Company.
Now, a lot of people may not know this, but some of us already know that you all have been intricate in the success of a lot of building projects here, such as working with the Clinton School, also the Southwest High School that's just about to get ready and open soon next fall. But tell us, what is the project that you're most proud of? And I think I know the answer, but I want to ask you.
Well, of course there are several, but actually one of the projects that I like to take pride in being a part of was the construction of the Little Rock 9 monument behind the Arkansas State Capitol. You see, there's a photograph of it on the wall over there, and the reason that project stands out. It wasn't a very large project in dollars, but it was very large and significant. Of course, the Little Rock 9 and what they had to go through integrating Central High School. And State Senator at that time, Tracy Steele, called me with this emergency project that he needed to have done right away. And actually, they had already scheduled the Little Rock 9 to be at the unveiling of the project before the project was completed. So he calls me up and says, Dexter, I need help. We got a deadline of this date. This project has to be finished. And it was a ridiculous time frame, like 45 days. And at that time, the statues hadn't even been finished. But he says, can you help us make this happen? And I said, sure, Tracy. And we pulled our team together and worked 7 days a week, all day and all night at times to get that ready, because it was a national event. Oh, yeah. It was the first time in years that all 9 of the recipients or participants were together for this unveiling. And so that really kind of stands out. Of course, there's also the Clinton Library project that we did.
And so, what would you say is your key to success of just sustainability? You started in the early 80s, and to this day, you've been very successful, even through the bumps in the road that come along with owning any business. What has been the key to your success?
Man, I'd have to first say is my faith in God that He's going to always provide for our needs, because and this is a tough business, and it takes perseverance and determination. And there's been some very dark and cloudy days here at Doyne Construction, wondering if we could make payroll, could we pay bills, and so forth. So, I'd get on my knees, man, and ask the Lord to provide. And to this day, 40 years later, He always has. Mm-hmm. So that's what has carried us through. Is my faith in God that He's going to provide for all our needs.
Mm-hmm. What was one of the challenges that you experienced, and how did you overcome it?
Yes, well, this is a very capital intense business, and you have to have credit worthiness. You have to have relationships with banks, and being a young entrepreneur from a low to moderate income community, competing in a business that's majority dominated. one of the first challenges was access to capital and financing. And you mentioned that $40,000 project that was remodeling the Choctaw Station Health Clinic. That was my first commercial job, and I was able to use that contract as leverage to obtain my first line of credit.
Oh wow!
Which allows me to make payroll each week, pay the immediate bills until the progress payments come in from the owner. So I think you find in most businesses, access to capital and credit is one of the main challenges that have to be overcome, because in this business, credit is more valuable than cash. Mm-hmm. So I found that out real quick. Yes.
So we have your son here, Mason, who's a recent graduate of Class of 34, Greater Little Rock Leadership. And so I wanted to ask you, what are some of your plans for when you take over Doyne Construction Company? Because it's inevitable, right? That's the plan.
That's the plan. That's right.
My plans would be to continue on my dad's legacy and continue getting more of the jobs that we have right now and growing our company by revenue and by a number of employees and reaching more different communities than where we are building in now. And to continue that to go forever and ever to my son and hopefully his son, so on and so forth.
Why was it so important to you to have your son take over the company when you retire? And was it 30 days or is it 30 more years?
It's going to be 30 more years. But first of all, I've given this company 40 years of my life, and I think we've done some good things for our community, for our Choctaw Station community and the Greater Little Rock community at large. And I've seen so many first-generational companies not survive to the next generation, especially in the minority business community. So first of all, I thought it was important to keep the legacy going and to have a great company that do business the way we do. And then secondly, I think it's every father's dream to have his son or daughter continue in the business with them. But as I told Mason when we first started discussing this, that the decision to join the company had to be his decision. It has to come from the heart, because this is a tough business. Unless your heart is in it, you won't survive. You'll easily give up. So he made that decision on his own to join the company, and I'm here to help him every step of the way and to hand it off to him.
I also wanted to say that you've been doing a really good job with preparing him, because to your point, I meet with small businesses regularly, and they have that challenge. Right. But who do they pass the company off to? Do they close it? Do they sell it? Right. Sometimes they have to find someone in their family who's just even interested in taking over their business. So it's kind of like, it's a good thing that you built something that has provided opportunities for your young one, as far as like better education, better economic status in a way as well too. But then the challenge is, okay, who's going to take over for dad or mom, because we're ready to go ahead and retire. But so I think you've been doing a really good job of really easing him in there. And Mason, I wanted to ask you about the leadership of Greater Little Rock. What was that program like? Tell us about that experience.
Well, first, I would say that was the best class. I'm sure many will agree with me, but what I learned from that program is that people love Little Rock. You would think by living here all your life that you know everything about Little Rock, but at every session I learned something new about what this city holds and the value that it created inside me, and I'm sure many of my classmates, they would consider the experience unforgettable and would recommend everyone to do it, because it's just so much you think you know, but you don't know, and just how historic Little Rock is. A lot of people try to downplay Little Rock, but it's a great city, and there's a lot of opportunity in it. It's quite diverse, and that class, I'll do it again if I could, but I'm an alumni now.
What was that moment like for you, seeing him walk across that stage?
Well, it was very, very rewarding for me because back in the mid 90s and early 2000s, I was deeply involved in the chamber and served on the executive board, board of directors, and probably every committee there. And Judy Love at that time, I believe it's Judy Nod now, but anyway, she was constantly on me, Dexter, you got to go to leadership, you got to go to leadership. And it always conflict with other boards or activities that I had. So I had a little bit of regret that I never went through a leadership class. But when the opportunity came for Mason and we discussed it, and he wanted to go for it, and I told him to go for it. When I saw him walk across the stage, it kind of fulfilled my desire to do the same. So it was very rewarding for me, and I'm certainly glad that he did and took advantage of the opportunity.
Who are some of the Black icons that you followed and those who inspired you in business and also in life?
Right. Well, actually, I guess the first icon and my mentor that got me started in business was a gentleman named Wally Carradine. He was the first Black architect to graduate from the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville. And just last year, he was inducted into the Arkansas Black Hall of Fame posthumously. Unfortunately, he died in 2017. But and I have his picture, and I have to show it.
Oh, yeah.
That's Wally Carradine, and my mentor and my friend. And he was the architect on that first Choctaw Station project that I did. And he encouraged me from that day all the way, until he fell ill, to get into the business, stay in the business. And this is actually, I purchased this office building from him.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of Wally Carradine going on to this day. So he's probably at the top of the list. And then there's others like Sherman Tate, who was a former chairman of the Chamber of Commerce. He's been a lifelong friend and mentor in this community. Charles Stewart is another. And, these are guys who were not afraid to share their information with me and with others. And they kind of paved the way to make it a little bit easier for me to not only get in business, but to stay in business.
Awesome. And Mason, same question for you. With the exception of your father and your mother, who are some of those Black icons or individuals that have really inspired you?
I would say Reverend Hezekiah Stewart. That's a big one. Has been more like a mentor to me, just like my dad. Then I know you didn't say except my dad, but my dad, he's my biggest role model. I learned a lot.
What has it been like working with them every day?
Definitely challenging in the beginning because you think you know someone, and then when it's your own kin, But my dad, he never brought Doyne Construction home, never. If he did, it was very minimal because the shop was right behind our house. But when it came down to the nuts and bolts of construction and the project managing and the everything to do with it, it was never shown at the house. So when I joined the company, I thought I knew what construction was because he had me helping him with things around the house so much. So when I got here, it was just a different ball game, and I was ready to hit the ground running, going 100 miles a minute. And he was just like, "Son, slow down. There's a lot of things that you don't know that I want you to know, but you can't know until you're in that situation." So when those experiences started to reveal themselves, I took a step back and just started learning. So
what does it mean to you to be the next generation to really carry on his legacy and run Doyne Construction Company to the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years?
It means a lot. It's a great blessing that he would want to even pass the torch to me. I know I hear him say it all the time, and with entrepreneurs as a whole, when you start a business from nothing and you grow it, that's almost like your fourth child or however many children you have. But and they don't ever want to let it go, And for him to want to pass the torch to me means a lot because I've seen what he was able to do with raising me and my sisters and providing for my mother. And I just wish to do half the things he done with us, with my family.
And what I find interesting about family-owned businesses, and just through my own uh, history, just reading up on great men and women who have run companies, it's this parallel where they were they were in a household where they had a mother or father who had owned a business, and they helped in the business, whether it was directly or indirectly. And so business was always around them. And then they got to the point where whether they took over that business or they started their own business, and they became even more successful than their father or mother. And so, what's your thoughts on that? And do you think that you can grow this company to that level? Because we believe you can as well too. But what are some of your goals or your plans?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. My goals with the company is to grow it to do double and triple of what we're doing now, but still keep the morality that we have and the goals that we try to achieve the same, and remain humble through the process. And do I think that I'll outdo my dad? With his help, I will. By myself, I don't think so. But yes, because he's such a great mentor. And just you think you know something and you really don't know, and some things aren't in a textbook. Some things you can't Google. Some things take 10 years to learn, 15 years to learn. So because this business is a really experience-based business, and I feel like with the ambition that I have and the love I have for Little Rock to see it grow, and the ambition I have in construction, I feel like I can take this company to new levels, and my dad would be very proud.
What was it like growing up in that house, where you have a father who was, working very hard, being very successful? What was the experience like for you? I know we kind of spoke a little bit about this, but tell us, what was that experience like for you, from him being a CEO of a major company, but then also being a father?
Well, when I was very, very young, I didn't quite get it because, my mom, she was a school teacher, still is. This is her 41st year teaching. And then, same amount of time my dad's been in the business. So, and they're both 8 to 5 parents, and,
Wow.
leave in the morning, come back in the evening. So when we were at home eating ice cream, watching TV, it really wasn't a lot of construction until like the weekends, and we'll go and he'll show me some of the jobs he's doing. But to get down to the nuts and bolts of construction, that was happening here at the office. And I'll come here to the office with him too, but I think I would get to asking too many questions, and he wouldn't start to be productive because he would want to show me, but then he has a timetable. So it was very interesting to see, and it's a lot of late nights, and I'm grateful that my dad took those late nights.
And what do you think you took from those experiences? Just watching them and seeing. I know you studied them, even when you probably didn't pay attention.
What I took from them is that, like you said, your heart got to be in it, and sometimes you got to make sacrifices to things you really want to do, or to achieve the bigger goal. Because in construction, I feel like it's a lot of bigger goals. You have your intermediate goals, but to get the long-term benefit of what you're really doing, it just takes every day to do it. And my dad would go to the office 7 days a week. And that's just what it took.
And it was great that he was able to bring you along as well too, so you could experience it and feel it as well too. And so you received an education on an entirely different level than most school-age young men and women. And so, next question for you is, how do you want to be remembered?
How do I want to be remembered? Well, first of all, I want to be remembered as a great father for my children and husband for my wife. I want to be remembered as a great friend to the Choctaw Station community where I was born and raised. And I want to be uh, remembered as someone who gave opportunities to others to exceed beyond their own limitations. This is, a lot of times people will say, Dexter, aren't you proud when you drive by a building that, Doyne Construction built and so forth? And yes, there's some pride in that, but I get the most pride in knowing that during that process, Doyne Construction provided income for those workers, for their families, that it helped put their children through school, college. It helped them, tithe and contribute to their church and their community. So I always try to bring it down to a humanistic level where I can see the biggest bang for the buck. So knowing that I've helped people move forward in life brings a lot of satisfaction.
And you've been really good with giving back as a mentor. You mentor a lot of engineers, architects, and also those in the technology space, but also in construction as well too. And so it's several of them who are actually are members of the Little Rock Regional Chamber as well too. They speak highly of you. And so same question for you, Mason. What would you want your legacy to be?
I would want my legacy to be that I did a job well done, and that I can make my ancestors proud, and just to be known as someone who gave it their all to succeed and to provide for the less fortunate and his family, and so on and so forth. That's
I know that you are a member of the board of the Little Rock Port Authority and also the Little Rock Regional Chamber as well too. What has that relationship been like, being a part of the chamber for so many years?
Well, it has certainly created a lot of lasting and valuable relationships. It helped me to identify and see others who love this Little Rock community and is willing to give of their time, effort, resources to make it a better place. I realized that being a part of the chamber, it exposes you to so many other elements in the greater Little Rock area, things that have happened, things that are happening, and things that are going to be happening. And that's good and exciting to know that you have a group of people all pulling together in the same direction to make this a better community. So it has been rewarding from that aspect.
Awesome. So now we're about to go into what I call the fast money round.
Yeah.
And so what that means is basically I'm just going to come up with something off the top of my head, a couple of quick questions, and so I'm looking for some quick responses. Okay, and both of you can answer. Okay, question number one: making a movie or making a building?
Gosh, man, now there you go.
Going back to your days.
I know it. Making a movie is my passion, man. And believe it or not, building a building that has a lot of similarities because the script could be considered the blueprints. And you got a producer, which is the owner. You got a director, the general contractor. So there are a lot of similarities. So I'm trying to do both, make a movie and build a building.
Okay, I'll stop there. What about you, making a movie or building a building?
Building a building. It's pretty cool to see what it takes guys just like me and you to use their hands to put such a large, stable structure together. It still amazes me to this day. You would think that it's not like that, but it's really just human beings and their two hands that makes a whole building come together. So it'll be building.
Okay. What's your favorite season?
Favorite season? Spring.
Spring.
Earth is coming back alive, and spring is in the air, man. Yes.
Okay.
I think I like winter and spring. Spring because my birthday's in the spring, but I do like winter.
Okay. Your favorite book?
Favorite book? Um, um, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki.
Awesome. Love
I think my favorite book will be parts of Rich Dad Poor Dad because he made me read it. Probably when I was like 14, and then I'll say that's mine too because I still go back and look at that book today, or even when I'm trying to budget or feel like what can I do financially to give myself a raise.
Yeah.
That's basically what you do when you budget. So, and that book has a lot of good takeaways in it, and I'm glad I was exposed to it at a young age. I didn't quite get it then, but it takes years of embedding that in your mind to fully understand. So,
Okay, awesome. How does one get in contact with y'all if they want to do work?
Well, first of all, we have a website. www.doin.com is our business website. We're located here at 719 Main Street, right in the heart of downtown North Little Rock. And every third Thursday of the month at 7:30, they can find me at the Little Rock Chamber of Commerce at the executive board meeting.
Awesome. Well, thank you for watching and listening to our story. I'm Brandon Campbell, the Director of Small Business and Inclusion with the Little Rock Regional Chamber. Until we see you again, until you see us again, thank you very much.